Good afternoon and welcome to Shawano News, your positive source in a crazy world. I'm your host, Jaime Lee. Today we walk the Grace Trail. This episode is sponsored by Shawano Pathways. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with a Pathways member, Matty Mathison, who has been the co-founder of the Grace Trail. Thanks for coming on the show, Matty.
Oh, it wasn't a problem to accept your invitation.
Matty was my former gym teacher and a famous and beloved coach in our area, so she is very well known and appreciated in these parts. Can you tell us about the Grace Trail? Because a lot of people don't even know it's here in Shawano. What is it?
Well, it's like therapy in the woods, because as people know, when you walk or you do exercise, you start feeling better. And so the Grace Trail was invented kind of by accident by a woman and her husband whose son had come back from Afghanistan severely damaged with traumatic stress syndrome. I heard about it, and it was totally by accident. November 17th, my mom called. She sounded terrible. She's 96. And she said, I have COVID. And I could tell that she was really sick. I said, Mom, I'll be right down. Don't come down. I don't want you to get infected. And I have six sisters and 2 brothers. And we had already talked about what we were going to do if Mom had gotten COVID. She lives in her own apartment, but it is an apartment building. And she hates hospitals. So the next day, I met my niece, who's an EMT. We had the PPEs, we had the shields, the face masks, the gloves, and we went in and she took her temperature and oximeter, and both of those were good. And she said, Grandma, you need to keep eating, even though you can't taste anything, you can't smell anything. You need to keep your strength up. And Janice is going to, that's me in real life. Well, it's
Your other
Matty in
name.
real life, yeah, my alias. I'm going to make 2 window visits every day. And you're going to show her your temperature and your oximeter. And as long as those don't drop and the temperature rise, we'll keep you here. And so Mom was really sick, but she also knew that that's exactly what she needed to do. So I would stay at my sister's condo in Appleton, and then I'd drive to Winchester and knock on the window and kind of talk through the window to Mom. And at first she struggled just to get up and walk to the window. She was so fatigued and had a terrible headache. And after that visit, the Wire Wash Trail is there, and I'd pull in and I'd walk the trail. And all I kept thinking is, I'm so grateful she's still alive. I'm so grateful she's not in the hospital, because I think she would have died. So grateful was just part of my exercise every day. And then I'd do another window visit, and then next day do the same thing. By around Thanksgiving, she started to feel a little better. The day before Thanksgiving, she said, I think I'd like some turkey tomorrow. And I said, that's
It's a good
fine.
sign.
I'll bring you a live one if I need to. And so I got 2 turkey dinners, and I knocked on the window. She opened the window, and I handed her her turkey dinner, and she handed me a glass of wine. I sat on a flower pot outside. It was 40 degrees. Jamie, it was the best Thanksgiving I ever had in my life. You know, my 96-year-old mom, stubborn Norwegian, beat COVID. And once again, grateful, and to all kinds of things and people and my higher power, everything. I was just so grateful for that. So after quarantining for 14 days, I came home. I had a stack of mail, and so I started going through my mail, and I read this little paragraph. It was about the Grace Trail. I immediately called the number, and the woman who owns it, created it, Ann Jolies, not her secretary, not her manager, Ann Jolies answered the phone. And we talked for like an hour. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to build 1 or 2 of these in Shawano. And she said, we're so excited, we'll help you. This is a copyrighted thing, we'll license you, but we'll give you all kinds of information. And so that's how it started. I proposed it to Shawano Pathways, and they you know, they've done so many trails and they love the idea. We eventually proposed, I wrote an ARP grant, I got $1,000 for ARP grant, and we proposed it eventually to ThedaCare. And when they said, we can probably do 5, I was thinking 500. But eventually it was, we will do a $5,000 match for each trail. So that meant we had the opportunity to come up with $20,000, which we did. And one of the ways we did it was by selling these benches.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Eve's bench?
Well, as we were describing this and asking for funding from ThedaCare, this was during COVID, so it was all on Zoom. And Eve is Matt Hendricks' daughter. And she's
And Emily Hendricks, awesome family.
Yes, they're a great family. In fact, Beckett was over there helped building that bridge. And, so Eve was sitting on her dad's lap listening to this Grace Trail. And when we got done with the conversation and the Zoom went down, Eve said to her dad, "Dad, I have money in my savings account. I want to buy a bench." So the first bench sold on any of these 14 was done by, I don't know if she's 7 or 9, I think she's 9, but done by a young woman.
And what a full circle moment, like you said, your mother who is in her 90s to Eve who is only 7 years old.
Yes.
It begins and ends with grace and what we have all around us.
It really does. It really does.
So Matty, could you take me on a walk
I'd
of the
love
Grace
to.
Tool and let's experience this, like you said, walking therapy.
That's what it is.
Let's go.
So this is the first word. It's grateful,
Gratitude.
gratitude, and one of the unique things we did both here and at the Born Learning Trail is we added a Menominee and a Spanish word. So each one of these pavers in this particular station has the Spanish Menominee word for being grateful or providing gratitude.
That is really special. And I think what a perfect place to start, because no matter what happens in life, if we can just focus on a little thing to be grateful for.
Yeah, look at this weather.
Look at this weather. Look
Yeah.
at this. Look at a smile. Look at this news show. Look at Shawano. There's so much to be grateful for.
Yes, it is. And you know, if we're not happy with something, then we should be courageous enough to change it or get involved and make it better.
Let's put our hands on our hearts. Close your eyes and take a deep breath and think of something that you're grateful for. Someone you love, something in your life. Gratefulness. Let's walk and hold that in our heart. The next stone on our path is release. And this is a tough one for a lot of people. When things happen, loss, change, it's hard to let go.
And it's hard to release emotions when people are in disagreement instead of trying to convince them of your way of thinking. It's better to agree to disagree, in my opinion. And so releasing perhaps anger or disappointment or guilt are things that they take time. You can't just say, okay, I'll let go of that. But letting go is a slow process. It's kind of like slow release. But it's really an important part of our life.
And again, there's a lot to do with grief. We all grieve. And doesn't mean letting go means forgetting.
Oh, no, not at all.
It means honoring and remembering. So let's, at this spot, close our eyes and remember something that we love and honor. And we ask for grace to be able to let it go. Let it go. Next boulder, acceptance. This is also another tough one for people to grasp. What's your take on acceptance?
Well, I think acceptance means change, and change is hard for a lot of us, myself included. I just, in the last 6 weeks, lost 2 dogs. And to be able to accept that I was blessed with 2 wonderful dogs in my life and in their lifespan. Fortunately, we have 1 remaining. But to accept the fact that if you're going to have a dog in your life, you know that the loss is also going to come when they leave you. So accepting that when you get the dog and also when it's that time. But it certainly goes beyond dogs. It goes beyond accepting things in our life that doesn't seem to be fair, but
Especially with the current events in the world today. What can we accept if we can't control it? So I guess acceptance, just like that famous Beatles song, let it be, let it be, let it be, oh let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be.
let it be.
At every station, you will also notice that we have local organizations and businesses who have sponsored.
Exactly.
So we really want to take time to say thank you to everyone that made this possible.
So
How ironic is this? We have the challenge stone, and Matty was instrumental in bringing the challenge course to the high school where we did rock climbing and spelunking. So there's always going to be challenges in life. How do you push yourself to move forward? Talk about challenge.
Well, I think the challenge class was so successful because it was challenge by choice. So when people understood that you don't have to climb to the top of the wall to get an A, but we'd like you to put on a harness, learn how to belay, and challenge by choice. Take one step beyond what you think you can do.
So sometimes in life, a lot of times in life when there's challenges, you can reach out. You can ask for help. You can do things together. You don't have to do things alone.
Yeah, and that's so important. We can't, no man is an island. We can't survive by ourselves. So, like you said, ask for help as a caretaker, as a person who needs help, either mentally or physically. And it's hard for us to do that.
Right. And it's hard to talk about our struggles because we want to be strong, but there's great strength in being vulnerable and showing our hearts because there is so much mental health coming up now for all of us.
Yeah,
So.
and relying on other people is just such a powerful thing. You can't go it alone.
Yeah, stronger together.
Stronger together, that's true.
Our last stone is embrace. What can I embrace and what is possible?
Well, I think if you don't have something to embrace, I'm not sure you know what your direction in life is going. And as you mentioned when we were talking before, once you kind of figured out your direction, there was more peace in your life and
Purpose.
more peace and more purpose, and embracing projects. How am I going to make, if I'm living here, how am I going to make this community better? Do my own little part, and I think that's what I embrace. So when I embraced creating these trails as possible, I had another mission, a goal,
Another purpose.
and that holds true for anything. I embrace my family, my friends.
And embrace the journey,
Oh,
the
that's
path
very
that
important.
takes us here.
That's exactly
What
right.
have I learned and how have I grown?
That's
Embrace.
very important.
Full circle.
Full
Grace
circle
Trail.
is for sure.
Are at the conclusion of the Grace Trail. I wanted to say thank you, Matty, for having us here. How can the community members enjoy this trail? Where is this located and how can they find you?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. This was a wonderful way to spend part of an afternoon, and the weather cooperated fantastically. The address for the park is 286 Northridge Drive. So if you turn right by Divine Savior and just keep following Northridge Drive to the back, you will come upon Alpine Shores. It's one of the city's 26 parks. The trail is only a quarter mile long, and ironically, in the long-term goals of the parks, this park was scheduled to have a walking trail. So we created a walking trail, and I think people should know that all of you are invited to come and walk the trail. Your dogs are welcome. Please put them on a leash.
Great place to bring your children
Oh.
and to maybe have some conversations like we did today. Any time of
exactly.
the year, this is open year-round.
It's open year-round. Bring your boots in the wintertime and walk the trail. Walk from one bench to the other. Just spell Grace, you'll know which direction to go.
And I heard there is another Grace Trail in the works at Navarino Nature Center. So if you are interested in donating to that, please visit ShawanoPathways.org.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, on a personal note, I wanted to say I am so grateful for Shawano News. I have been going through a hard change in my life, and I know a lot of you are too with the world, but there's always something positive to look towards. And Shawano News has given me purpose and brought me so much joy. So for your families, I wish you the happiest of Thanksgiving, that you can be surrounded by those you love, and to remember to be grateful. This is Jaime Lee, signing off for Shawano News. Keep living and loving in the 54166. In another full circle moment, I'm going to teach my teacher some yoga. Back in the day in high school, I wasn't the most athletic, so to speak, with volleyball. I was a palmer, but now I'm a yoga teacher, and this really has a lot to do with the mental health and self-love. So let's do the tree pose in nature. We put our left foot down, and then we bring up our right foot to our calf. We look at something in the distance, placing our hands at our heart center. And then slowly we lift our hands up. Tree rooted down in Shawano. Yoga, namaste.